Hello, my name is Richard and I am the Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Wimberley. We were joined last time by David Baker, who is the Executive Director and founder of the Wimberley Valley Watershed Association. Today we are joined by Anthony Deringer, who is a professor at Texas State University and chair of our Parks Board here in Wimberley. So Anthony, how did you get involved with the profession of Parks and Recreation?
Well, my start was really in outdoor recreation. For a number of years, I was a backpacking guide and river guide and doing things, recreating in our public lands, and really started to have a passion for public lands and for public recreation and recreation administration. And so went back and got my master's and then my doctorate, and now I'm at Texas State and get to teach students who are going into public recreation.
So tell us a little bit about the field of Parks and Recreation and what made you volunteer on the Wimberley Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Well, I think, public recreation is such an important part of our community. Theodore Roosevelt talked about public recreation as being the most American thing. Having a recreation area, public lands that's really owned by the people. Mm-hmm. And so that's important to me. It's important to our community. Obviously, Blue Hole is our primary example of that in Wimberley. And so, being able to serve on the Parks Board allowed me to have some way to contribute to Blue Hole and to our community public parks and recreation.
Something I know that you are passionate about is this idea of connectability and connecting our parks to important features in a community. For those listening that might be unfamiliar with the term, can you describe it a little more and how vital it can be to a community like Wimberley?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways we think about connection. One way is thinking about connection to nature, and the other is connection to different spots in our community. And I think both of those they kind of go hand in hand. This idea of connection goes back, more than 100 years, the 1830s, whenever Frederick Law Olmsted started thinking about putting parks in the middle of, initially New York City and other cities kind of followed along. And that infrastructure that they designed way back then, took a lot of foresight, right? Mm-hmm. And I think we're at a point right now in Wimberley where we're really planning for the future in that sort of the same way, thinking about how can we connect our different parks and our different outdoor spaces. And that's really important. It does things for individuals, right? I can go out and I can walk from maybe my house to a park or to downtown, and that's a really great, but it also does a lot of things for our community. It does things, it attracts people here, it benefits the businesses, but it also benefits each of us in that way that I was talking about initially, which is nature connection, right? It allows us to get out, connect with nature, and that's, it's really good for our health. As we've seen throughout the pandemic, people need that, right? Mm-hmm. We were all doing that during the pandemic. And it's a really important part of having a good life and feeling satisfied with our lives and being healthy.
Yeah, good for our health, but also mental health.
Yeah, mental health as well, for sure. Yeah, that's a big part of it. Maybe that's the biggest one we learned from the COVID-19 pandemic was just how important it is for our mental health.
This summer, our Blue Hole Nature Camp program has over 30 kids on the wait list every single week. How important is environmental education and outdoor recreation for the youth of Wimberley and Hays County?
Yeah, it's very important. My kids will be at camp this summer. I think it's important.
Excited to have them.
Yeah. And I think, when we think about kind of conservation as a whole, we tend to think like, oh, Blue Hole, the city bought it, we own it now, it's for everyone. But it only takes, kind of one generation not thinking that's important for that to all go away. And so environmental ed is important for communities because we get students out, we get kids out, and we teach them about how cool nature is, right? At that young age, you guys are able to get them out and show them the cool plants that are at Blue Hole and the animals, and that can lead to a lifelong passion for nature and for public spaces and for parks. And without that, going forward, it could be a difficult thing to keep parks funded and keep parks mm-hmm. open and keep them available for the public.
Right.
And like I said earlier, that's really important, right? It's important for health, but it takes a lot of effort. As parks people know, it takes a lot of effort and community to keep parks available to everyone.
We've been chatting today with Anthony Deringer, professor at Texas State University and chair of our Wimberley Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Anthony, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you.